This lesson is for Cycle 2, Week 3, ages 4 to 6, and it's taken from imagery from the Book of Kells. There's a bird that's used repeatedly in the motifs throughout the book, and so I've taken that and simplified it a little bit to use for this image. And the other projects are taken from the evangelical symbols for the different saints. This one is not specifically an eagle, but we can still tie it to the eagle symbol for St. John. To begin, you're going to have your envelope up on the board with your upside down image inside of it. And then next to that, you're going to have either your rectangle drawn with just some dotted lines that you put across it, or you can print out another piece of paper with the dotted lines just like your students have and have that taped up on the board. So on the screen, you can see that I have the dotted line paper, just like you and your students will have. And I'm going to go ahead and go through and draw the bird section by section and talk through it as if you were talking to your students. We can see that there's some lines coming up out of the top of this box. And I can see that one of the lines starts right about here on my dotted line. That line goes up, and I see that it begins to curve over. At the end of the curve, it does 3 smaller curves. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to go 1. This one gets a little bit smaller, 2. And then a third one is even a little bit smaller, 3. And I can see that it curves back down and ends on my dotted line again. Below this curve, I see a line that goes from one side all the way to the other. Next to that one, I see a very similar shape. So I'm going to start at the dotted line again, put a point there. My curve goes up and over near the top of the paper. It comes down for 3 smaller curves. 1, 2, 3. And it comes back down to my dotted line. And I can see a last line kind of curve up and over between those 2 things. And then, of course, you can ask your students, what do you think this is? What are we drawing? And you'll probably get some interesting thoughts on that. Once they take a few guesses, you can pull up the paper out of the envelope so that the next section is showing. And you're going to be drawing this section at a time. Let's go back to our drawing now. I see that at this point that I first started with, the line keeps going down and to the left. So I'm going to go down and kind of roll to the left and stop at the next dotted line. I also see that this line that starts at this point comes down and comes almost to the other line. Now, this one right here, I'll put a dot there, comes down and touches the line I just made. Good. Now we have something much more complicated going on. Over here in this space, I see a tippy oval. So I'm going to go in and do a tippy oval. Now I'm doing the more complicated of the 2 bird options. Of course, if you're doing the simplified version, yours is going to look slightly different than this one. At the top of that oval, right there, there's a line that goes down and to the left. So I'm going to go down and all the way to the left. Make sure that you're going slow enough that the students can all follow along. Now, way over to the side, what do we see? We see an even bigger tippy oval. So I'm going to do a really big tippy oval. My oval touches the dotted line below it. So we can know that this point must touch the dotted line. I'm going to go up to the top of my oval. I'm going to come and touch the side of my other oval. And then I can see that my line keeps going down, down, down to the dotted line. There's something missing here, so we can ask the students, if we look at this part, what kind of line do we see? And we see a curved line. Kind of looks like a volcano to me. So helping them think about the shape and maybe even how to describe it in words could help. And then what do we see going on over here? Going back to oils, we see the filled in dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, again, you can ask the students what they think they're drawing, or you can just pull up the next section and keep going with that. So you pull it up, and let's begin over on the left. So on this point here, what do we see happening? We see a curve going out to the left and coming down to the line. What's happening from this line? It looks like it keeps going and touches the other line. So go to the left and touch the other line, kind of like a V. If we go from here, what happens? Kind of similar to the other two. It goes to the left, comes down and touches the line. Again with this one, you might see a pattern. It comes down to the left and touches the line. Over here though, there is a lot more going on. What do you see? And the students can say, we see ovals. They're tipped to the left. So I'm going to go one oval tip to the left, and below it, I see another oval tipped a little bit. Whoops. What else do we see? We see a long line going from this oval all the way down to our line. We see a long line going from this oval all the way down to the line. And then of course the last one, from this oval all the way down to the line. Hopefully the students can help you describe what the line is doing and help walk through it with you. What do you think this looks like now? Maybe a lot of cannons, maybe spaghetti. I don't know. The students will come up with some fun ideas. Now for the fourth section, we have a whole new shape happening. This shape is going to start over on the left third. So I'm going to do a dot to show the students where to place that. And then I'm going to go up, and it's a big curve. I'm going to curve around and come down, maybe like the end of a hot dog. And then I'm going to think about, whoa, there's a lot of lines. Let's start with the line over here on the left. What does it do? It comes down and touches the hot dog. What does this one do? Hey, it comes down and touches the hot dog too. And this one comes down. This one actually begins to come down but curve the other way. So I'm going to curve towards the hot dog that way. And then the same with these as well. Curve over. And my last one goes that way. Awesome. We're missing one thing, and that's just a second big curved shape right inside of that one. So after you finish this section, you might want to walk around, make sure that all the students have things in basically the right space. You can always go back and help them fix something that's dramatically off from what it should be. And now, let's see, we have one more section. What could this be? Let's find out. Now let's go over to this dot again and say, all right, we have the line there. What does it do now? It swoops all the way to the right-hand side and makes a long, continuous hot dog. So we go swoop, 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 all the way almost to the other side of the paper, up and around. But we have a line here. So I'm going to do a dot at the top of that shape. I'm going to curve it down like that. That gives us an ending point for this other shape that we started here. So now we can go there. Keep following along. We know to stop here to go up with our angled lines. Remember, angles, we always stop and then continue. Now we have that interior shape. Now for the bird, they probably see that is a bird by now. We have a beak. So for the beak, we're going to start at this point and we're going to end on this point. So let's start at the starting point, go over and around. It's an angle, so I'm going to stop and curve back to my other point. And what's happening here? We have a filled in dot, and it's slightly angled that way. So I'm going to do a dot and fill it in with my pencil, just like that. And now that you're done, you can take the picture, and I'm going to rotate it, flip it upside down, and have the students look at it. And what is it? It's a bird. It's kind of a funny looking bird. You can talk about the Book of Kells and how they did their drawings and why they look that way. You can also go in and add some more designs and dots, because in the Book of Kells they were all about the ornamentation and making things a little bit more fanciful. And so I'll do some dots there. You can add some lines in some of these feathered areas. Do some dots maybe around the feet, something like that. So they can add a little bit of ornamentation, and then go ahead and color it in.